October 18th, VOLTA, the adapter call, and agenda today is review where we are with open stories in the sprint, then talk about critical issues we need for the whichever release we have that will be in time for the AT&T field trial by November 3rd. So let me share my screen. There we are. So here's what is currently in progress, or here's sprint one. There were two stories, adapter stories, 307 and 308. Those have been closed. 306 is in progress, and there's 2 days left in this sprint. Is someone from Radisys, Sean, Kim, anyone have an update on Vol 306 in terms of, is that likely to complete by this Friday?
Yeah, this is Sean. Yeah, so it's out for review internally, and we'll see if we can get it on Friday. We're having, we're just going through a few items right now, but I guess it looks fairly reasonable.
All right. Holiday week in India, so a little bit tough to gather all the folks together for that, I imagine.
Yeah, like I said, we have the code in review, so I'll talk with Kim and see where that stands, if we can push it up or not.
Okay, very good. Any questions on that one? All right. Next up is switching views is Vol 467. So, Kim, do you want to give an update on current status on 467?
Yes, okay. So we've been looking at, the kind of got to the root cause of what's going on in there and why the adapter has trouble coming up into swarm mode, and it has to do with the unidirectional communication of the C-based gRPC. So, and that was kind of the foundation that all that was set on. So we've done some analysis on that. It looks like we want to go for a very short-term type of fix that kind of puts a polling mechanism in the driver's side, so that it can reestablish the connection from the driver's side up to the adapter. So we have some preliminary code is being worked on for that, and trying to get that into place. It looks like that's doable within the time frame, couple weeks that we have here. The ultimate long term is probably short, depending how you look at it, but the real solution is to get off of that C-based gRPC and use the C++ gRPC in that, between the adapter and the driver. So that gives the bidirectional streaming communication of the gRPCs, just like what's normally implemented inside of VOLTA with the Python or Java-based gRPC. So that's kind of just like the high level summary. The switching out the C++ is going to take a lot more code touches in there than what seems to be reasonable to do in such a short time frame. So still look at that in parallel, but that'll be on a little bit longer term track. So that all those changes, in that vol 467, then that's got to be followed up with a lot of testing related with reconciliation. So if if VOLTA does go down and then comes back up, then it reestablishes the communication to the OLT and gets everything back like it was. So it probably breaks into two parts, and the reconciliation is the bigger part of that.
I'm sorry,
that's kind of a
reconciliation, the testing of reconciliation is...
Testing of reconciliation, is the longer, the most effort. That's probably going to take the bulk of the time.
Okay, so coding is relatively short, testing is going to take longer.
Yes, yeah, the coding seems like to be in kind of a week's time frame, and roughly, depending on how that goes, to get the basic establishment of the communication, when it comes up in swarm mode.
Got it.
Do you have script or kind of procedure regarding to what kind of testing you want to do? Because I would highly recommend other software integrator roles. They will do the same testing to if there's a way you can share the testing load among companies, I think that may speed things up a little bit. I hope.
Yeah.
We'll look into that. I'm not sure how feasible it is at this point, but we'll look into it. It may be useful to do that.
So Sean, so if you could find, we're certainly willing to collaborate on that. Let's find out who's going to take those tasks, and we'll get work directly with them. So
should we break 467 down then into so this can be taken? This is getting a little bit pedantic on the JIRA, but just a sub task for the short term, a subtask for the long term coding, and then a testing task. Would that
I think that would make sense. Is we can put just put some tasks in there and associate them with this. There's coding task and a testing task to be able to track that separately and who owns it.
Okay. And testing could be potentially could be done by multiple contributors.
Yes.
If they are set up to do the testing, and it's something that we could provide scripting or instruction on.
Yeah, because I imagine it's going to be somehow just, killing the active VOLTA, and let the HA reestablish and see if the communication falls over to another VOLTA that ends up picking it up. So that's just in general what would happen there. So it's just same types of things you normally do with HA testing. With PwnSim, if you're doing this with PwnSim, you probably just have the EdgeCore OLT involved instead of PwnSim.
Okay. So the short-term fix is something that could be implemented within the next 2 weeks. We look at their, I think, sprint planning. Let me save this and go back.
Yeah, we think that's feasible.
Okay, so that may be that subtask for a short-term fix could be loaded into Sprint 2 and completed by the, I guess November 3rd is the target date for that completion of that sprint, and then the longer-term fix. Perhaps the coding could be done in that time, but testing would likely extend beyond that date. And so then we'll need to look at when could that release, the maintenance release, if we want to call it that, be tagged and made available. And that affects both adapter and the driver.
Yeah.
And is that true for both short term and long term? They both affect. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll probably bias towards the short-term fix, for resources. We're going to keep looking at the, on the C++ approach, basically seeing what we're up against and identifying sections of code that has to change. And it also, there's also there's a part of it that relates to BAL. We have to see if the BAL headers will give any problem when we try to compile the VOLTHA BAL driver, that main line against, because it has to have BAL headers for the API, and just have no experience on what we're going to run into with that. I think all that's resolvable, but that's another thing that
so a risk area
has to be done in there.
A risk area in terms of getting it done quickly is that the BAL API header, the BAL header.
Yeah, that's fairly isolated, and it doesn't use any of the Broadcom builds framework in order to build that application. It just uses the header files that come from the BAL SDK, and generally the Qumran SDK has C++, the public API has accommodations for C++, but in BAL, I am not sure. I believe that it doesn't. So
okay,
that's a consideration there.
Do we need to consult with Broadcom on that?
Yeah, I think eventually. I think we just have to see what it takes to get those changes, but Broadcom would have to get involved in that to actually take them and take that and support it. So this would just kind of be a secondary patch that runs against the BAL header files if something has to change in there. And we'll be in contact. The plan is to be in contact with Broadcom at the appropriate time, but for right now, I don't think we need to do anything there, because we don't want to have something coming from Broadcom to get on this critical path for right now.
Understood. Okay, good. Anything else on 467? Good. So the other topic, the other thing that we had targeted for the 1.2 time frame was the epic around the device management, and that was this 248 epic, excuse me, management of edge core OT devices. There are a number of stories in there, 311 down to 350. Several of these are shown as in progress, but are not currently contained within a sprint. And so what I'd like to do is get some feedback from those working on these stories and identify what kind of progress has been made. Can we load these up into an upcoming sprint? Can we target completion for some or all of the required stories? So let's see, Ranjit, you're on the call. Could you speak to progress being made, and can we start loading these into, is there anything that can be closed out in sprint 1? Should we target some things for sprint 2, or do we need to start identifying a sprint 3 to get this work done?
Hi, Tim. Yeah, this is Ranjit here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please.
actually, actually, like in we have made some progress on this story. So we understood, so like in what to be implemented, and we have done somewhat of implementation towards the adapter side. So we have made one design document and we mailed to Kim actually. So Kim will be looking into this document, and he can provide us some clarifications actually, like at what we are looking for. So once we get those clarifications, maybe we can like proceed further to implement it. Actually, like in few of the tickets already we have implemented for, like, this is basically to get the like in health status of the ports and fans PSUs of the OLT hardware. So already we have extended support for getting the health status for the ports and fans and PSUs. So and ports also we have implemented somewhat, and there is one more ticket 344. It is for rebooting the OLT hardware from the VOLTHA software. So that is also we have implemented. So most of them, like in 3, 4, 5 tickets already we have implemented. Just like in we need few clarifications from the Kim. So a couple of days back, and maybe day before yesterday, so I have sent a mail to Kim for looking for some clarification. So once we get those, maybe we can proceed further.
Okay. So Kim, is that something you can do within the next couple of days to provide that requested clarification?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, my attention was on the 467. Yeah, that was sent like on Sunday night, and we had we had a lot of activity on 467. So I think I'll try to get to that today and get the easiest things I can answer off, so we can start making progress.
Okay. What I'd like to see is that we have Sprint 2 should be opening on early next week, Monday or Tuesday. What I'd like to see is some of these stories targeted for completion in Sprint 2 if possible. And then an idea of which ones are going to take longer, and is that something that could be completed within a Sprint 3 that would follow, so that by mid-November timeframe, would it be possible to get this epic essentially complete, the work in here complete, so that we would have the ability to manage some or all of the Edge Core device? Okay, so
Yeah.
I want to instill a little bit of discipline, and it's great that we're now picking up the stories. Next piece of that is let's get them loaded into sprints and declare some of, as we can, declare these things as done, so we can actually view progress within Jira.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay. Sean, were there other items you were looking for progress on outside of device management and the 467, the critical issue needed for as soon as possible for the field trial?
Sorry. Right now, sorry, I don't remember the features. So on the expand, the ONT delete, would that also working on the Edge Core adapter?
Can anyone comment on that one? So expand ONU delete.
Yeah, there's changes up for pending changes for the ONU disable and re-enable, and right. I am not sure if that is ONU delete or not. So it might be, but I'm not.
So enable, disable, and then delete without without restarting the VOLTA, right? I think I'm expecting we're probably going to have some kind of the anomaly condition during the field trial. So the least impact to the VOLTA is what I'm hoping to avoid, right? Establish, right? So I would think. So I don't know. I don't quite remember. I don't quite remember whether the ONU, service deletion and enable, disable, and also the device enable, disable, whether they are part of Sprint or not. So I think those probably will be important features if it has not been supported. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it is, but I didn't see those as stories.
Right.
I don't remember seeing the stories for these sprints, but we should check.
Yeah, I guess maybe yeah. After seeing the way how the VOLTA works and within adapter and even ONU adapters, I found disable, enable, and deletion without rebooting, wipe out the VOLTA database is very, very important actually.
Does that include service deletion as well, or just ONU?
So if you can delete ONU and clean out service at the same time, then that'll be fine. But if you have to do a separate step, then the server deletion need to be included too.
Yeah. So I mean, if I delete the ONU, basically everything associated with that ONU should go, right? But do we also need to have an incremental? I want to delete this service and reinstall it again, or just the delete of the ONU record completely is good enough as long as everything goes with it?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Ultimately, I think for the operation, right? If I want to delete the ONU, I would think servers should, because you don't want to create any kind of the out of sync situation between the configuration and on and on your record, right? So if you can come in as a package, that'll be fine too.
Okay. Is there you want to write a story for that?
Yeah, let's.
Behavior?
Is there a story already? Excuse me. Or did we miss this operation when we were setting this up? I mean, this seems fairly basic, but maybe there's a story that we covered it, but it sounds like it's still an issue.
Well, I guess it may be in there somewhere. I don't remember seeing it in the backlog for the, but okay. we need to check, I guess. And if it's not there, we need to create it.
John, can you say if this is this a problem that's just with the edge core adapter, or are other adapters able to do this? So is this a VOLTA problem or an adapter issue?
I think it's adapter, right? Or either adapter or the adapter, whatever adapter can support, has not linked into the XPON config yet or something. I guess.
I mean, there's basically a workaround for ONU deletion, which is deletion of the ANI, right? I mean, there's
right.
So I mean, there's that part where they just added a feature where you can't delete the ONU via any other means.
Right?
No,
okay. So let's be in sync with what VOLTA is doing, right? So they don't allow the CLI deletion of ONU is inhibited. So I think that's fine.
Right.
So but can the XPON deletion of the deleting ONU through the XPON? I think that's the feature right now is in VOLTA, but whether your adapter can work with that, I think that's a different story, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if we cannot delete the the existing provision servers and ONU for the edge core adapter today, then we need to do that. We need to add that, follow the recommended, well, follow whatever support on the XPON today.
Sure.
Make sense?
Okay.
So specifically, what we think is not supported, or the question is whether or not they through XPON and ONU can be deleted without restarting VOLTHA. Is that what's the problem statement? How do we get to a problem statement that we can then write a story?
Right. Okay. Right now, I believe the VOLTHA support using the XPON to delete ONU, right? So my question is right now, does the edge core adapter, can support that?
Well, also, I mean, how do the services tie into this? Because presumably you're going to have to delete those in ONOS as well, right? They're going to delete that subscriber or withdraw that subscriber when the ONU goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a VOLTHA
But that's
issue,
VOLTHA issue, right?
XPON manager, right?
Right.
So that's why I was asking if how if other adapters are doing this okay, or you've seen the operation you want from other equipment and other VOLTHA adapters, then it seems reasonable that we could to say the problem is specifically with the edge core adapter. But if it's VOLTHA in general, then the scope of it increases a little bit. And
I think what, as I said, right? So whatever VOLTHA can be supported, then the adapter need to be able to work with that, right? So one use case today is potentially in the beginning of the field trial, we use the Broadcom ONU at the location, right? And then we decided to go to TNW or Alpha Network or whatever, right? Then you need to reassign the same ONU to the same fiber to the different type of ONU. Then you need to reprovision.
Right, it's in-service removal of the ONU.
And then be able to add it back and get the services up and running, right?
Right. I mean, you can reprovision as you can reprovision servers. I'm not saying you should not reprovision servers, right? I think reassign the ONU to different ONUs. That's a different story, right? But I think at least we need to be able to delete the servers on the ONU and then delete the ONU and then recreate the servers on the same ONU or on different ONU.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, so are we now saying this is a two-step process where you delete the service first, then you delete the ONU, or because there's two sets of functionality. One is I delete the ONU and the services go away, right?
Right.
And then if I want to be more granular, I can delete the services and then I can delete the ONU, or I could add services back to that same ONU, right?
I think if you from bottom up, right? When you delete the servers, you don't have to delete ONU, right? But when you delete the ONU, you have to delete service.
Yes.
Right.
And you'd like to see both capabilities, is what I'm hearing. So people try.
But I think that's a VOLTHA. That's a VOLTHA requirement, right? If VOLTHA support that, then the adapter need to be able to support that. Am I correct? Or I'm
Yeah, but I guess
I agree.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but I guess time frame is what we're talking about, right?
Right. So what I'm saying is, whatever supported right now in VOLTHA, I don't want to because of this requirement, and then we had to create a new story in VOLTHA, right? So whatever support today, after yesterday, I think the Risha they put in the prohibit the deleting ONU part, right? So okay, whatever. I just asked, can can the edge core adapter delete the ONU or delete the services with today? Right? I'm sorry. Am I making any sense at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think,
We know what you want.
Yeah.
Right. So because I can see, after these weeks, right? Finally, on the VOLTHA 1.0, I can see well, if we don't have that, we have to wipe out everything, and then that will be service impacting for everybody, right? Even though we don't have IGMP requirement for the field trial, but I don't want to do that, right? Any impact just to the target ONU, right? And as I said, I'm expecting there will be chances, if we run the field trial long enough, then maybe the ONU will die.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
conceivable.
it's very possible.
Yeah, that's true. But my main concern is for VOLTHA, is making sure that the VOLTHA capability is in there, because if if all of this doesn't work, let's just say VOLTHA and a different adapter and different equipment can do this just fine. If that statement is true, then I think it's reasonable that we focus just on that edge core adapter and make sure it can do the same thing. But if no other adapter can pull that off, then it's a different issue, and that's what I'm trying to separate here. And so, Sean, you would have the
specifically through XPON, specifically through XPON.
Through XPON.
Through
Yeah.
XPON, right. So
does XPON support this functionality today?
Yes, it does, right? You can delete service. You can delete, and then when you delete the basically, you delete when you delete the gem port, you delete the service, right? But may not flow back to the ONO site, right? But once you delete TCON and gem port, you delete the service. So the ONO site, that the flow is still there, or the port still there. That is fine. Once they rebuild it, they maybe reestablish that flow. So yes, I've talked to Dave Bainbridge. We need to clean the record up on the ONO side, right? But on the VOLTHA side, I believe you delete the gem port, you delete the TCON, and associate to the traffic descriptor, then you should be cleaning up the service already. And I don't know whether, because when you delete that, I believe that deleting the ONU ANI is different, is a different command on the XPON, right? So, but once you run those series of commands, it will clean up the ONU deletion, right? So I believe the VOLTHA has a function support right now, and I think has been demonstrated during the POC 3 by some people.
Right. Okay, good.
Okay, but do I care whether some other device can do it? I don't care for the field trial.
You want it supported by the edge core OLT.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
So
I just wanted, and gave a key thing right there. Technically, this is feasible. It's been demonstrated other places. So this, we just need to ensure that the edge core adapters get, ONU adapters doing the right thing, and the OLT adapter is doing the right thing to delete the ONU essentially.
Correct. Yeah, and then I think, and I think that if something I want to add, I think remote reboot, maybe that's another one, but reboot the ONU, right? Yeah, I think these two based on what I've seen so far with the maturity of the both OLT and ONU devices, I think we need to bring this up.
So it's remote reboot of the ONU?
Remote reboot of the ONU, yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you disable and re-enable it, what will cause the reboot? That could be fine too. But
that would be done through OMCI somehow. I mean,
right.
You have to send a command.
Well, I guess for the field trial, I think what we can always do is someone will call the friendly, say, "Can you reboot ONU?" I think that's the workaround. So
I don't recall an XPON any XPON functionality to actually do that.
I think that's
type of.
So it's a CLI through what?
Well, either by CLI. I didn't see anything that composed the message like an ONU adapter hook that says, reboot this ONU.
Right.
No, that would be an equipment management type function. I don't think that is supported via XPON. I mean, you can.
Right.
But we'll take a look. We'll take a look at what's there and what we can support. All right.
And I think everybody agree, right? Based on the maturity of the hardware, I think we probably need to reprovision the same PON or same port over and over. Agree?
But when you say maturity of the hardware,
explain what that means.
What does that mean? What's maturity?
No. The ONU. No, because we have not going through the certification of the hardware, right?
Yes. Right. It's not been.
It has not been soaked. It has not been soak test yet.
Right. Okay.
Well, So okay. So all right. So we may have to go through the whole startup sequence where we reset the MIB and reprovision the thing, right? I mean, and that may be generated via a reboot command of some kind.
Does it take a long time for when you reboot the edge core? Does it take a long time for you to load the BAL and everything?
Yes, because it's quite a few minutes. There's when you initiate the command, when the adapter tells BAL to go. I mean, the whole thing to boot up and to get into service, like just the OS and getting things running, is not that slow. But that takes less than about a half a minute, 30 seconds or so. But the BAL startup time is very slow because it's got to go through each one of the maples and do a firmware download to the maple and then wait for the right communication to happen. That all happens at a lower level. And then the Qumran startup with the DDR training, that was a recent thing that got in there. That seems to have taken added about another 30 seconds to the startup as well. So it just takes a while, and some of that's got to be looked at, I think, in the long run to see, is that length of time really?
Would that be part of device man?
Kim, this is Shad. So that was one of my concerns as well. I mean, preparing for this BBWF demo. Every run takes a pretty long time for the OLT to come up, and then the provision the ONU. So to make this repetitive, like to keep repeating the demo, is it possible to pre-provision the ONU and just restart the ONU and have it re-enter? I think I tried that, but that doesn't work. But I just wanted to check with you.
I was talking about. You mentioned the ONU. I was talking about the BAL part. The BAL.
So right now, if I want to rerun the demo, I really need to restart the OLT.
Yeah, and it you know, that's all under the domain of Broadcom. We're doing what they have provided that
Exactly.
makes the thing reliably start up. So, and I don't think there's anything that can be eliminated other than saying maybe having a configuration that says only use one of the 8 maples, because I think you can, you know, it's a function of how many maples are starting up in there. It looks like that's the primary thing. So,
one more question: is a reboot of the OLT supported? Like, sorry, a reboot of the ONU. If I pre-provision and have the ONU activated and running, can I reboot the ONU? I mean, kind of to simulate a new entry of the ONU, like of a pre-provisioned ONU. Can I reboot the ONU? I don't think that's supported.
And that's what I think Sean was getting to, was maturity of hardware, right? There's that, you know, the Broadcom reference ONU, they have a reference SFU implementation that's in there that, you know, has quite a bit of functionality in it, right? But you know, you have to send an OMCI message to it to get it to reboot or restart, or you know, or whatever. So that would have to come through some mechanism, right? And the XPON manager, I don't think has anything like that to be able to do that. And I've never seen that show up in any of the ONU, at least the Broadcom ONU adapter that's up there right now. I don't think it has any. So
there's no mechanism currently in XPON, and that doesn't exist currently in the ONU adapter, the Broadcom ONU adapter.
Right. It's like a management. It's a you know, a management function. There's a whole set of things that are in that category, like, you know, rogue ONU detection and you know, a whole slew, you know, pawn ranging, you know, and diagnostics and all that kind of stuff that, you know, I think, you know, things fall into that domain, and that's kind of one of them. So something would have to be done specially, maybe a CLI command or a, you know, something that, you know, actually kicks that off.
But
so we did have, I mean, there are stories for many of these things in the, I mean, there are existing stories, they just have not been picked up yet. So right now we've identified those in the, what we've called the VOL 250 EPIC, the TW ONU adapter. So an ONU remote reboot is in there, as are a number of the other things you just mentioned. So
one question, right? So at least for broadband Wolf Forum, I think what Shad is asking, right? So I think the ONU is co-located. So if we power cycle the ONU, would there be any consequence?
So Sean, I tried that. So it doesn't seem to come back up, in the sense that it's I didn't diagnose the problem fully, but looks like the flows are not programmed back into the ONU, so traffic stops and after a reboot.
Okay. Shad, I'm going to test that today in the lab. So I have the Redis. Have you guys seen that yet?
I thought that was demonstrated as working. We could see when like if a pawn cable was pulled or the ONU rebooted, that it came back up and reestablished the communication and the data flows. I thought that was okay. There.
I can reconfirm today, Kim, because I'm going to do some more testing. So I'll do this particular test, and I'll kind of maybe ping you if I'm running into issues.
Yeah, please help because the broadband Wolf Forum is next week. So
yeah, I can imagine there'll be different behavior if you pull the PON interface versus restarting the ONU.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, there is.
Yeah, no, I didn't try pulling pulling the interface, but I tried physically power recycling the ONU. Yeah, I'll try both things today, and I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, that was the essence of that dying gas test. I think that's the only way you can do it is to, really to cut the power to it, so it will, the Sequoia, I think on the ONU side will send that dying gasp indication, and then that's how that was tested. So power cycle is like, if you just reboot, I don't know if it may do it, but
the question is, does the data path reestablish after that?
Right.
Yeah, and I thought that it did, but I guess we have to look at that.
Yeah, we'll look at through the test results and see if that was in fact tested.
Shad, we'll test that here in Ceramon today. Also, I'll share with you.
Okay.
I guess yeah. But how about TNW side? I think let me what I'm thinking. So the reboot, the OOT, the service ONU deletion, the one I mentioned, right? So that should apply to whatever ONU you're using. So if for example, if some of the story in the TNW is associated to that functionality and required to be enabled, brought in. So in that case, then we need to also bring those in. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Are you asking? Are you asking that the TNW ONU adapter be introduced in time for the field trial?
If potential, there is always potential, right? It depends on at some point, right? So,
all right. Well, we need to get super clear about that. That was as of last week. That did not seem to be the direction. But if that is the direction, we need to understand that.
Okay. But I think that's probably it's outside the scope of, when I say the discussion will be outside the scope of this discussion.
Okay.
Of this meeting.
Of this meeting. All right. So we'll have a follow-up on that.
Yeah, but I think, technically the solution is going to be the same. I think any, either of the ONUs are going to, have some type of OMCI messaging that goes across that causes it to reboot, and
right.
that's pretty standardized. So how that's supposed to work, I just don't think I haven't seen anything in VOLTHA that tries to actually do that.
So the question is twofold: is the OMCI message for that? Does that need to be added to an adapter? And then what would be the mechanism within VOLTHA by which that message would be sent to the ONU?
Maybe that's a part of device manager, right? So I think currently the VOLTHA device manager functionality actually pretty limited also.
Yes, and I think that was something that that there is probably a whole epic on it, and a lot of that work was likely deferred. So we can dig that up, and why don't we look at what's been done and what would need to be done for that to, what is there a framework there, and where would that originate? Would that be something that originated in XBON?
I wouldn't say it's originating XPON. I think it will be originated in a device manager, but once the device manager issued that command, and whether they will trigger with XPON or not. I think XPON config mostly is doing the configuration of the device, right? So I don't think it's part of the XPON.
Okay. So we look at what existed in the ONU device management. Yeah, there's a bunch of
They're all
stories.
done.
Yeah.
They're all done.
Right. So
yeah, I don't.
We'll have to look at.
I don't know what that it was. This. Yeah, this is not really believable here. Look at one of those things and see what. Like, look at reboot device, that Vol 57, for example. What?
57 reboot device. Yeah.
What did
they do?
And
it's very early.
Yeah,
let's see what
time frame. So right, it's
maybe the framework is established.
Right. This probably was framework.
Yeah, and
all right.
Yeah, I mean, we're just saying that it doesn't have this a bit. So yeah.
So what was this? All right, let's go find out what this was, and does it really just point to, yes, there's a framework there, but there's no mechanism by which to do this? That may very well be the case.
Yeah, I think that epic needs to be re-examined, because this whole thing that we're talking about, I might not even agree with what the conclusion was in there, that there is a framework and it's implemented, because if there was, we wouldn't have had this discussion.
Exactly, right. So that was, yep, okay.
No, it could be my ignorance, because I don't know what's in there, right? So, but at the same time, if it is in there, then why no one ever correct me? Can you ask?
Sure. I think we just have to, ask the VOLTHA to discuss, how do you reboot an ONU with VOLTHA? And I bet there are ways to do it with, legacy, mechanisms, right? If the OLT, already has all of this capability, it's just not exposed in VOLTHA, there might be a way to do it. But like EdgeCore adapter, for example, is exclusively inside of VOLTHA. There's no extra functionality or existing legacy framework that was in there. So, I think that's really the point. I would be surprised if, I don't know, Tim. Maybe we should reevaluate that epic and see if those things were really right.
What was done in that case back in June? Because that
was
XPON.
So let's say this way. So on that epic, that's a whole epic, right? Can you also send a message to, chip, include chip? Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering whether individual company need to verify this now.
Yeah, so that was a ONU device management, but what was that relative to what ONU and under what control mechanism?
Right.
Right. It may have been very specific, and let's not take the time to try to figure out what that was on this call, but yeah, let's revisit that generally.
And we didn't have as many the participation, we got more adapters coming in, especially from AdTran, after that point. So that's a good
right
point.
Yeah, and there is a specific OMCI message where you can reboot the ONU, but in the AT&T OMCI spec, it says it's not supported in the D1 implementation, but I guess we're in D2 now. So.
Okay, I'll capture that as note and well, it's with ONU, OLT, ONU vendor to verify whether ONU management is in
Jim,
place.
I can help come up with something to put on Volt to discuss. I'll work with you on that.
Good.
To revisiting that epic and bring it to the attention, because I think it's important at this point.
Yeah, it's time to clean this up, and what has really been done, what has not yet been done, and what's priority of what has not yet been done or done correctly. It's time to scrub the whole thing. We can all take a breath, well, half a breath, with the field trial imminent, but at least take half a breath to look at what the state of this adapter and in relation to VOLTHA and what's there and what should we do next. Okay, we are approaching the end of the hour. Anything else that we need to discuss on this call? John, any more gems?
I just got TCON, so I don't have any gems.
Yeah. I realized that was almost fun.
Yeah. So the only other thing was, there are some, user intervention steps to bring up the OLT.
Right.
And I was wondering if there's any. Do we need to develop some scripts to start the OLTs, without user intervention, or has that already been done somewhere?
Yeah, what we're talking about there is an embedded startup. So the EdgeCore OLT boots up autonomously and starts up the Maple, the BAL, all those, and then also starts the BAL VOLTHA driver, so that when it gets rebooted, everything is sort of a no-touch reboot. That's kind of what we're talking about.
So, sorry, what was it? A question or a statement?
So there's a question in does that already exist, or has someone already, encapsulated all of the scripting required to have the OLT start up autonomously, or is that something that we still need to develop for the field trial?
Okay. I hear crickets, so that suggests that at least those on the call don't represent that it's already been done. And then the question is, do we need that scripting for the field trial to bring up, autonomously bring up the OLT?
That will have to be done. You can't, that can't be done like it is in development, where you need, visibility to log, debug messages and things like that. It's gotta, button it up and
right. Well, we don't know what mode this will be done in. The OLT will be sitting in a CO and it will be managed by someone. We don't know to what degree someone is going to be looking at it with what their background is. So, John, that's probably a topic for I guess next week is what are the expectations for that configuration and management of the devices during the field trial? How much intervention is expected, allowed for this to be successful?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Very good. I'm going to
We're right on time.
right on time.
Good job.
Thank you all. Stopping recording.